birds are singing, skies are blue. The world's awake, it's time for you. Start it right, you know it's true. Anson in the morning.
Good morning. It's morning, and I'm Anson, and it's Anson in the morning. And it's good to be here, guys. This is my first weekday of not working for the restaurant, and it's kind of crazy. I still think about it. I still am wondering what's going on over there and how things are going and blah blah blah. It's how I am. I love that little place. But anyway, now here I am, not retired, but I'm house dad for a while. So I'm gonna take care of stuff around the house. I got some fixing ups to do and take care of my kiddos, take care of the wife, get some of that laundry done that needs to be done. You know how it goes. And then yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm sure at some point, like my wife said, I'm gonna get bored and go back. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, that's all I can say. Okay, so Anson in the morning, here we go. Today we are going to talk about some supernatural stuff. The paranormal, the supernatural, whatever you want, it's stuff that I have been interested in since Moses wore short pants. It is to me some of the greatest, funniest, I don't know, um, hearing people talk about like getting abducted or seeing Bigfoot or the chupacabra or all these things around the world that can't be explained, that there's no science for. It fascinates me, and I get a thrill out of it. Now, we're gonna talk about whether or not I believe in some of this stuff and how we go from there, but in the meantime, let's get into it because as you know, I like to start at the beginning, go to the end, so bear with me. Again, handy dandy notebook, got all my notes written down, so let's talk about it. I remember I was in, like, when I lived with my grandma, I was in, I think, the 2nd grade, and I lived with my grandma for a couple of years, and so did my cousin Timothy. And Timothy, who was like a big brother to me. We'd go out at night. I remember Halley's Comet was around in the 80s, and he would be up in the sky or pointing up in the sky, showing me Halley's Comet and Orion's Belt and all these cool the Milky Way. Back then, there wasn't a lot of light pollution out there where they lived in Salem. So you could kind of see like the Milky Way streaking across the sky. It was something else. Excuse me. A little too much coffee. Speaking of coffee, good morning, guys. Okay. And it just gave me a sense of wonder because he was a pretty smart cookie. He is a smart cookie. Air Force, I mean, just a great guy. Uh, he gave me the love of it. And then it was him who introduced me to the Star Wars and all, the Jedi and telling me all about the lore, even when there was only, what, 3 movies out. He knew all about it. I mean, he bought me all the toys. I had every Star Wars toy you could think of. And this kind of got the ball rolling for me, science fiction, the supernatural, extraterrestrial stuff. And so there you went. And then I remember being a young kid at my grandma and grandpa Whaley's house, and in their bathroom, back then we didn't have cell phones or any kind of entertainment you read when you were on the crapper. And they had a book in there titled Sasquatch. And grandma knew all about Bigfoot. She loved it. I think grandpa did too. They both did. Um, they were from, I think, Montana or something like that. So, they love the outdoorsy kind of stuff. And yeah, so they told me all about Bigfoot and, how he was seen by a couple of people and this and that. And it kind of got my interests peaked in, yeah, sorry about that. Kind of got me interested in all of these unexplained things, and I'd go out at night and stare at the stars. Anytime there was a meteor shower as a kid, I'd go and I'd look up in outer space, always wondering. And then, of course, your mind wanders to aliens, which is one of the we'll talk about it in a minute. Let's see where we're going here first. Um, all right, so before we get into the alien stuff, because that's going to be a whole segment here, let me talk to you about the my first very weird experience, kind of supernaturally, maybe not, but I want to know what you guys think. And I hate to be that guy. Let me know in the comments, but let me know if you guys have had this too, because this is crazy. Uh, I remember being a young kid and I was still in like it wasn't a crib, but it was like a little boy bed. I didn't have my big boy bed yet growing up. And I remember one night waking up and it was like one of my first conscious memories. I was really young. And I remember I wasn't awake, but I remembered falling into my body and then waking up. Like I remember the sensation of seeing my spirit hands or whatever going into my real hands, and then, like, I literally woke up, and then I don't remember if I sat up or anything like that. I was really young, but I remember that very, very, very vivid sensation, and I've never forgotten that since I was a tiny little kid. So I've always wondered, are kids not burdened by whatever in life and they're free to astral travel? Or was that, the matrix of me getting implanted into my body? And here we go. I'm plugging into the matrix and this is the life I'm living. I don't know. Um, if I did know, I'd tell you. But it's crazy, isn't it? The way that we think about these things, or the way that these things happen to us. And then we have no explanation. And a lot of us forget about these experiences. So I'd really like to know if anybody else out there has had these kind of experiences where you like fallen back into your body, or I don't know about deja vu. I A lot of people say that's, sorry, a fruit fly. I had a cantaloupe for breakfast and now he wants it. Uh God damn it. Is it is it natural? Is it supernatural? Do will we ever know? Uh I don't know, but I love talking about it. So sorry, that fruit fly got me all distracted. Where were we? Um so falling back into the body, the thoughts on that. Is there a matrix? Probably not. A lot of people are like, why are we here? Eh, why are plants here? Why is Mars there? It's not, I don't believe in a creator or anything like that, but I do believe in life out there. I think if life happened here, it can happen out there. So why not be life out there? But do I think they're coming here? Hold on. We're getting there. In the early 80s, this is something that's always tripped me out. In the early 80s, my dad talked to me about Area 51. Now, my dad was in the Navy, and I don't know anything about what, but I do remember him telling me at one point that there was a UFO that had crashed and that they took it to this place called Area 51 and that there were aliens there. And this was really early in my life. Like, I want to say I was in like the fourth or fifth grade when he was telling me this stuff, maybe even younger. And this stuff hadn't been disclosed. What do you know, Dad? And then since that, I've had a lot of dreams about crashed UFOs. Not a lot, but a couple, enough that I remember. uh Crashed UFOs and aliens around, military jeeps and stuff. I know it's my mind making all this up, but he told me at such a young age that it implanted this. Now I'm just telling you where all of this love of this is coming from. um we lived on a house on Ridge Drive, and we had one of those 90-pound TVs or 150-pound TVs, the big block of wood with the screen in the middle. And then, they were talking about alien abductions on this show down there. And I just remember the hair on my arms. Now, I'm not saying I was ever abducted. Let's not go there. But I remember them talking about it and the hair on my arms stood up. It was something about it that just I did not like it. Now, I've only seen one UFO in my life, and it wasn't a big sighting, but I remember this. My parents owned a clothing factory downtown Portland, and they were tailors. And I remember one night we were walking out to their Lincoln Continental Mark V, beautiful long boat of a car, beige. My buddy GB remembers this car. And I remember looking up in the sky, and it was Daddy that pointed up, and he goes, "Look at that." And I remember it was like a drum. So it was like flat sides and a flat bottom, if I remember, but the top looked like a piece from the game Sorry. Like it had a point that went up, kind of smoothish like that. And I remember the lights rotating around the bottom of this thing. And it just kind of went away. Like it was there and then it just kind of whatever. And that never left me. I even looked on the internet, and I've looked a couple of times. I looked a couple of years ago and I saw something that looked like it, but I wasn't doing this show. And I never thought, oh, I'll screen grab that for my show. Recently, I went to go look up UFO drum shape, and it's all drum symbols now. There's a UFO drum symbol that's plastered the internet, so I can't even look up images of this thing if I wanted to, specifically. And I'm not going to ask AI because it's going to make one, and that's not what I wanted. But there was a picture out there that it was somebody drew it, but it was the damn same thing. So that's about the only UFO sighting I've ever had. Now, I've looked up in the sky and I've seen things going across, satellites and stuff. There was one time that, oh, where was I? Anyway, it was in Portland. I was looking up, it was dark, and I remember seeing the light go up and then it went like that. But it was a tiny light in the sky, and who knows? Maybe I was seeing stuff. Maybe it was light off the atmosphere that deflects. There's scientists that can debunk everything that you see. Swamp gas from Venus reflecting off of Mars, whatever. But these were so I guess there was two sightings. I guess I don't remember. I'll tell you one of the coolest things I did see when I was looking up one night. It was the only time I've ever seen this. Uh, it was me, my dad, and Uncle Larry, uh, my dad's brother. Daddy's brother. Sorry, there's dad and there's daddy. Daddy's brother. And we're out in our backyard one night. My dad had turned this backyard into this beautiful park. It was something. Huge backyard. And we're out there one night in the backyard. It's a warm summer night, and I'm looking up, just staring at the stars, and I see a meteorite or a meteor go by. But the coolest thing about it was as it was traveling, you could see the little pieces breaking off before it just flashed out at the end. It was as far as like looking up at night and seeing cool phenomenon, that was it. That was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But it wasn't supernatural, but it was something as a result of me looking up, hoping to see aliens. Now I'd go out at night, sit on the lawn chair with my blanket and stare out at the meteor showers when they came around, and I was never really lucky to see, like, the big meteor showers. Every once in a while, I'd see maybe one or, "Ooh, I think I saw one out of the corner of my eye." But really, I was looking for UFOs and stuff, which brings me up to the next point. So we see this thing in the sky. Now, this is in the early '80s, so drones weren't around. Uh, it wasn't, popular science to see all these UFOs all the time. But where was I going with that? I lose my train of thought. I don't know why. I always do that. I start talking about something, I think about something else, so shit. It doesn't matter. That was the only UFO I've ever seen. God damn it, I gotta get my thoughts together this morning. I am tired. I didn't sleep well. You can see my eyes. I don't know what it is. It's like Sunday nights, I always toss and turn, just thinking about the week ahead, even though I don't have to go back to work anymore. It's still part of my habit. So let's see where are we going here now. Spring break. Now here's it's not supernatural. Oh, I remember where I was going. Let's back up. Going outside of my dad's shop, we saw that thing with the lights in the sky. Why do UFOs have lights? What's what's the purpose? If you're trying to observe Earth and you're coming here to check us out, do you really want yourself lighted up, lit up, whatever? I think you'd be clandestine, and if you're, just all secretive, if you're able to travel billions or trillions of miles, light years, whatever, why not keep it? You can't invent a cloaking device, you know? You can't make yourself secret, even if so that's the other thing. If it's not aliens, but it's the government, which I'm more prone to believe that it's US, Russia, superpowers playing with high-tech technology. I wouldn't be surprised if we found a way to bend gravity right now. I just really don't. I wouldn't be surprised. And these drones that we're seeing, I just saw one just the other day where I guess somebody shot a missile at one of these things, and you could see it bounce off the thing, and the thing it's tumbling, but it keeps going. It's not like it exploded, which makes me wonder, did it bounce off of and was that fragments of the missile that you see behind it, or did it actually blow some pieces off the ship? Because there's a few fragments traveling behind it. I need to start learning how to upload little clip videos to, this platform here so that I can do it for the show. Laws and Fatsy are great at it. I haven't learned how yet, so bear with me. Uh, so I thought that was interesting that now we're seeing this stuff, and I think that maybe we're bending gravity. They said that Hitler had Bell. I don't know how that is in German. I used to know. And it was a thing that you had to tie down and it looked kind of bell-shaped and it would float. Maybe German Nazis figured out a way, but that's the other thing. Let's get there. Maybe they figured out a way to bend gravity. And then we get Operation Paperclip. They come over here. Why not keep it going? why not keep that tech, or did they keep it going, but they kept it a military secret so that we couldn't have it? And is all this rocket propelled stuff to the moon that we have not real? But again, we're not talking paranormal and stuff here. We're talking more conspiracy theory, and that's going to be next week. And trust me, guys, I actually have 3 pages of stuff written on that already. It's going to be a much more detailed detailed show. So bear with me, like I said, while I go today. I didn't sleep well, so but I promise you guys, every Monday at least, we're doing Anson in the morning. So where are we at here? Okay. March 25th, 1993. I was at a small Christian school in Lake Oswego. We had taken spring break off, and at about 5 in the morning, we had an earthquake. It was the spring break quake. And I'll never forget that weird feeling. I wasn't awake when it was going, and I'm not like, "Whoa," I was dead asleep. It was like, what, 4 something, 5 something in the morning. And I remember my dad running downstairs to make sure I'm okay and, pulled me into the door. By that time, it had stopped. And okay, fine, whatever. It's more of like I don't really remember it, so I'm kind of fuzzy on it. So whatever, it wasn't a big deal. But then as we go through the day at school, uh, or no, 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 sorry, we didn't go to school that day. Um, the next day, I went out with my folks to go. I think we were landscaping or doing something. And when we came home, I had a dread in my heart about going into my room, which was downstairs. Um, Now I don't know what that dread in my heart was. Like, I don't know. Was it was it an energy in that room? Was it an energy left over from the earthquake? I just felt like there was something evil in that room, and I forced myself to go in because I had to go to my room. So, I don't know where that came from, but it was just that weird feeling of, I don't know. It was nuts. So I don't know if that was a supernatural feeling or just me being an asshole. I don't want to go into my room after an earthquake, or it just maybe I got shook up more than I thought I did about the earthquake, or maybe everybody was just talking about it. I don't know. Uh, but shit, it was just one of those moments I thought I'd write down and talk to you about, because I don't know. Maybe a lot of the supernatural stuff that we see is just feelings. Maybe it's just internalized feelings and dread, and that's where all this stuff comes from. I don't know. But that's what it felt like back then. Um, okay, so we move on. My parents had Time Life books, all about the supernatural and paranormal and all that crap. It was it was pretty interesting. And I read every one of them. And I read every one of them multiple damn times. And I started witchcraft and potions and where the word abracadabra came from, and you know uh Betty and Barney Hill, the first alien abduction stories, and all this stuff that we got from Time Life. Man, it was astral projection was part of it too. And that was something I read with attention, because I wanted to know if what it was real, you know what I mean? If when I fell back into my body, and it didn't really it gave you the method to do it, but it didn't. And then there was a whole thing on there about debunking. Like, oh, there was these people that say that they saw ghosts and took pictures, but it was really just cheesecloth or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. But these books got into my psyche, and it started a love that I've never put back. Man, I would spend hours and hours. My parents had a library. We actually had a nice big library. And it was just hours upon hours reading this. Guys, if you're gonna give me 1 second here, I'm gonna switch over to my other side of the Wi-Fi here. I'm getting a little laggy, so just bear with. All right, let's see if we're back there. Yes? No? Is that any better? I know you guys are watching. I see in the comments that I was stuttering. Let me know if that helped the stutter. So back to the story with the Time Life books. I'm reading these, and I'm a freshman in high school, and I remember we had to do a report for speech class. and it had to be a lengthy report. So, man, I took that stack of Time Life books and I read my heart out. I put everything I could into there, and then they started talking about psychics. Now, this was back in the days of the phone books, so I went and I grabbed the yellow pages, and I flipped through there, and I found a psychic, and it was like a one-word name, Fran. I can't remember this lady's last name. God bless her. She was amazing, and then her phone number. And I remember calling her up, and she goes, "Hello." Like, "Hi, my name is Anson Rotola. I'm doing a show. I'm doing a speech for my speech class all about paranormal, supernatural. What can you tell me?" And man, I'll tell you, if this girl, this lady didn't sit down with a not I mean, on the phone, but with a high school freshman me just telling me everything about it. And then at the very end, I mean, everything. She's talking about UFOs, and this was back in the day, not actually being from our dimension. So they're interdimensional, which I've heard a lot of now that we're talking about other dimensions and string theory in our physics. Well, maybe UFOs are, extra dimensional or ultra dimensional. So she started talking about them from being ultra dimensions, alternate dimensions. And then she asked me, "Would you like a reading?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." She said, "I'll do a reading for you over the phone." Cool. So it wasn't a reading, it was a look into who my past lives were. And she goes, "I see so many past lives that I can't pick one out," which I was like, even over the phone at that age, because I was still a little bit of a skeptic because those other Time Life books talked about debunking this stuff. So I had that in my head too. So I'm like, "Oh, that's convenient." She goes, "But you have a spirit guardian, and I can see him plain as day." And I said, "What's it look like?" And she goes, "It's a shepherd boy." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." All of a sudden, the little dude in my head runs to a file cabinet in the back and he's flipping through papers and he's like, "Here's the thing about shepherd boys. My dad told me that when he was young, somebody said that his spirit guide or whatever you want to call it was a shepherd boy." And I just thought that was crazy that she pulled that out. Now, maybe that's something they all say. Maybe every one of us' spirit guide is a young shepherd boy. I don't know. But it was interesting that it made that connection with me. Now I know these people that can cold read over the phone, but she didn't tell me any outlandish truths about myself. She just mentioned that one little thing, and it sparked something that was like, "Well, shit, maybe there really is something to all this." I don't know. So I plant those seeds. I do my report. A plus. A plus. I went in there. I laid it out, including the debunking. Um, And I think that's what got people's attention was it wasn't a fluff piece on everything that's supernatural. It was also like, hey, these people can cold read. Now, this was something that I had read in the book. Cold read, or they're taking pictures of ghosts and using cheesecloth, or they're levitating people, and it's all a trick. Um, but she did bring that up, and I always thought that was interesting. So let's get down to what I really think about it. UFOs. I believe that it's government working on these spacecraft, or it's something from well, the faster you go towards the speed of light, the shorter the distance gets. So maybe they found out how to ride that wave just on the cusp and get here in no time. I don't know. But why put lights on the thing? Why are you showing off? That it feels uncharacteristic to me. Of somebody who wants to be sneaky or observe. Maybe they want to be seen, but if they want to be seen, then come down and talk to us. Stop with the bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like shit or get off the pot. But that's my thought on aliens. They're either figured out how to get here real quick or they're government. And I'm more worried about it saying property of US government on it than some alien writing. But who knows? Maybe it's a good thing. All the secret government technology eventually comes out and then it gets made for public consumption. Who knows? Maybe sooner than later we'll be zipping around to Pluto and checking it out. I don't know. Probably not. I think if it is government stuff, they'll probably keep it a secret forever. Aliens and alien abductions, I don't think so. I really don't believe that people are getting abducted. Now, Betty and Barney Hill had no reason to lie. They weren't fame seekers. I don't think, but from everything I've read on them and heard on them, they're not They weren't like that. They weren't conniving people. They weren't trying to drum something up for whatever. So I don't know. Um, that's a good one. And there's a lot of people that, a lot of pilots that see stuff. Now, I don't believe just because you have pilot's wings that everything you say is factual. I think you have to be an outstanding person with outstanding reflexes to handle a $1 billion piece of government aircraft, but you're still a human being. Excuse me. You're still a human being. Your mind can still play tricks on you, no matter how sharp you are. Memory is the least reliable thing in the world. It's just not great. Your eyes can, a glint of light can. I looked at a light wrong one time, and I could see the veins in the back of my eyes. I'm like, "Holy shit! Who knows what light can do bouncing off of a F-16 windshield or whatever?" The guy in Tacoma that said the first guy that called it a saucer, like he was skipping across the air like a saucer. So that's why they call them flying saucers. Um, he was in a plane. And a lot of people are like, well, here's the time of day, here's the time of year, this is how the sun is. And in that plane with that canopy, you're gonna see multiple lights, and your plane's going through turbulence, and maybe it's people trying to debunk it for the sake of debunk. I don't know. But I think the mind can play tricks on you. And when it comes to UFOs, um, I just don't think they're from outer space. I don't think there's little green men with big eyes, fucking Whiteley Strieber wrote a book called Communion, and on the cover, he put this alien with the fucking eyes and the little mouth and the big head. Um, you wanna talk about nightmare fuel for me for years? I don't know what it is about it. I don't believe in them. I don't think they're here. I absolutely don't. But they freak me out. You know what I mean? Like, that's the one horror sci-fi thing that, like, actually gets the hair on my arm to stand up, is those little dudes with the big eyes. They just creep me out. There's another theory, though, real quick. Um, what if in the future they figured out how to do time travel with all this gravity bending and whatnot? Because time dilation around gravity, who knows what you can do? What if they figured out a way to travel back and that's us evolved? We had to move on to outer space because our planet got fucked up, and we had to grow big eyes and our heads got big, and we're in outer space, so we don't need limbs. So we're kind of spindly, and we look like those things. And we're coming back now because we've got the time travel and we're zooming back in these ships to check it out. I don't know. But again, why put lights on them? I don't get it. All right. So that's how I feel about aliens and stuff. Now let's talk about Bigfoot. I live in Crescent City, California. We are the Bigfoot capital of the world. And not really of the world, but we're a very popular place for Bigfoot. We have This is where Endor was shot, was all here with the ferns and the trees and the Ewok. That was all here. Um, there's plenty of places to hide if you're Bigfoot. Never found any bones, they say. Never found this, never found that. Um, some people say they've seen footprints or heard the howls or had their tents shaken, but again, we're in the just like UFOs, we are in the age of the most amazing phone cameras in your pocket in the world. Where's the proof? If Bigfoot's shaking on your tent at night, once it stops, can't you go out and look around? I don't know. Put a trail cam up. It's never been seen clearly. There was the picture of it crossing the creek with the arms and all that. It's the closest thing anybody's gotten to a picture, and I think even that was debunked. I think towards the end, the guy who did it said that his friend was a prop maker or something. Excuse me. And he made the suit for him, and they walked across and filmed it shitty on purpose. I don't know. It's just as crazy as Loch Ness. If it's there and enough people have actually gone in there to take a look, where the fuck is it? Where's the pictures? Or Chupacabra or the Yeti or any of these what do you call them? Oh, I can't remember the name for these things, but all these critters that are out there that are supposed to be, in China, they had the wild man that would be up in the mountains, covered in fur and smelled real bad. And some lady said that she got attacked by it. And then so after she killed it, she cut off its hands and its feet and pickled it. She went to town and told everybody, I killed the wild man. She killed the hermit that lived up in the hills. The guy had like scraggly hair and she killed him, cut his hands and feet off. So we've never found any kind of proof of anything, just like the aliens. These people in Mexico wheeled out these two mummified alien bodies that they said they'd have. I don't know about you, but those look like they were made out of concrete, and I really feel the Mexican government was having a joke on us. I think it was a bit. They're like, "Haha, look what we got." You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. Just like Bigfoot, we've never had any conclusive proof. Where's the DNA tests of all the hair that people say they found? We have pretty good forensics. If you're finding tracks, can't you follow them back to where they came? Because he had to come from somewhere. He didn't just appear right there and the track started, right? But nobody ever talks about that. No, nobody has ever found whatever. So I don't know. But on the other hand, this is where I start to believe a little bit. We took a trip to Disneyland and driving for 15 hours, man, on the left and right of you sometimes is nothing but wilderness as far as the eye can see. And then even more. Like we pulled off at a rest stop and it was just miles of trees. So I open up my Google Maps and I scroll it. It's a quarter of the map. It's a quarter of Northern California going east. How do you know he's not hiding out there? How do you know? Now, do I think he comes into towns and stuff or close enough to be seen? Probably not if you're that old of a species. But if you are that old of a species, you're not being hunted. If you're so big, where's your natural predators? Wouldn't you be flourishing and there'd be a lot of you? I don't know. That's a 50-50 one for me, Bigfoot. I'll say that on that. Next up, ghosts. All right. People see ghosts. People feel presences and entities around them, um, like I did after that earthquake. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that science can't explain. Uh, but again, we have to talk about things like, is there an afterlife? Energy can't be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. So what happens to the electrical impulses in my brain when I die? Do they just fade away and shut off and it goes where? I don't know. I mean, I have energy flowing through my body right now. I had coffee and I had some melon. So where does that energy go when I die? The energy that's in me, does it just fade out? Does it go somewhere? Is there a consciousness after? I think the hope of consciousness after is a comfort because people don't want to believe that the light turns off. You know what I mean? But what if that energy gets left over and sometimes it manifests as a ghost? Now, maybe it's not a conscious ghost. Maybe it's not like, "Ooh, Anson, you fucked up." I don't believe that. But you're out of this world. Your body is the meat vehicle that you were is now gone. It's in the ground. It's wherever. And they say ghosts haunt the places where they either died or where they lived the most. Well, what if the energies in the world, now I'm just talking out of my ass, but what if the energies in the world are feeling that imbalance and it puts the energy that was you back into that place to try to fill that void? I don't know if I'm describing that right. And then you have a ghost. But then again, why does every ghost have old-timey clothes? It's always, I saw her in Victorian garb or whatever. Where's the guy wearing hammer pants and high tops? You remember the Reebok pumps? You know what I mean? And the big chain around his neck. Where's that guy? It's just always it feels like it's never consistent. I remember I saw Aziz Ansari one time talking, and he goes, I think he was the one I heard that from. He's like, "How come you never have the ghost sitting on your bed going, yo, what's your Wi-Fi password?" Holding a spectral phone in his hand. I don't know. That's a good question. So ghosts, do I believe that when I die, I can come back and haunt or be around? I don't think so. I don't I've always believed that being dead is like what it is before you were born, which I don't remember. I wasn't part of. So I think that's what that's gonna be like, you know. Uh but I do think there's a lot of shit out there that can't be explained. I think that there's energies and flows, let me tell you a quick story. I forgot about this one. And this was the one paranormal, not UFO, whatever thing that's really happened to me. And Mr. GB, who's I know watching right now, will remember this. The story that I told. When I was, oh, I want to say a freshman in high school, me and my cousin Mikey ran away from home. We told our parents we were going to church and we snuck out the back door. They dropped us off. We snuck out the back door at church, had the $5 in communion money or the offering money they gave us each in our little pockets. We're like, we're running away. So we took off. And it wasn't long. I mean, we thought we were badasses. And it wasn't long before we're walking down the street and a cop sees us and pulls us over and puts us in the car because apparently after a couple hours we were reported missing and they're out looking for us. So they find us and they take us home. Now, Grandma Bertha was somebody I never wanted to disappoint. I loved that woman very much. She was very stern, sometimes to the point of cruelty, but it made me who I am, which is a very kind and generous and nonviolent, chill person. I don't really yell a lot anymore. I've kind of calmed down, but I never wanted to disappoint her. So when we got picked up by the cops, Dad said, because Mikey was with me, my cousin who lived with her, he goes, I'm not telling your grandmother about this because I don't want to worry her. And I was like, good. I don't want her to know about this either. So we're being punished. We're sitting in the kitchen, which is right next to our living room that nobody goes in. It's like the velvet room, and you've heard of it or whatever. Everybody's got that living room that nobody's allowed in. It's only for company. So we had this room, very beautiful, very tan, very plush, creamy colors. It was very, very nice. On one of the end tables towards the window, far away from us, is this little picture book, very small, about that big, head size. It was a folding picture. So on one side it had a picture, on the other side it had a picture, and they had a hinge in the middle, so it kind of sat like that, at a triangle. And it was on that thing over there was a picture of me as a little kid eating a candy cane with my Big Bird placemat, um, wearing a cowboy Halloween costume or something. I don't remember, but it was a picture of me. And Dad's in the kitchen with me and Mikey, and he says, "You know what? I am telling Grandma. She needs to know this." And I remember he sent me down to the garage for something. And as I'm walking down to the garage, I went like this. Like every bit of anger and hate and everything came out in me in this big to myself. This little foldable picture that was on the other side of the other room. Nobody was in there. Nobody ever goes in there. Nobody's allowed in there. Flew off of that table and hit the wall and landed down. Dad and I stopped everything and we looked at each other. He came out and I looked at him and he looked at me and we both got like a chill and we didn't say anything else. That was it. We were kind of cool after that. Like he didn't tell grandma. We had a moment there of something that happened and it shook us both. So that was like one time. Now, what was it? Let's talk about it for a minute. We have a few minutes left, and I don't think I'm going to go the whole hour today, guys. Like I said, I didn't sleep too hot last night. I never do Sunday nights, like I said, for some reason. So I'd like to get some stuff done around the house and then take a little nappy poo. But what was that? Was it the Force? Does anybody remember the movie Ghost? When Sam learned how to move things, how to be a poltergeist from that guy on the train? Get off my train. He said, you got to take all your hate, all your emotion, all your love, everything, and bury it down in the pit of your stomach until it's a ball, until it explodes. And when he said explodes, he flicked the little bottle cap and it went moving. It wasn't a big explosion of like, I moved the earth. It was just enough to move the thing. And that's how Sam learned how to do that. Is that what happened to me? For one moment, was there a psychic thing like a telekinesis that I was unaware of? Do we all have this? You hear a lot of these things where people are saying, you know what? We all have these abilities ingrained in us, and it's just a matter of unlocking them. Is that the key? It's just pure, raw, physical, unadulterated emotion that brings these things out because I had never felt that kind of an anger before in my life. And it was not only anger, but shame, embarrassment that grandma was going to find out, worry about getting my ass beat because of what we did later after, Mikey goes home. They don't, or what punishment was going to come from it. or everything bottled up together? Did it explode into this fury that just took something and shot it? 'Cause I wasn't thinking about that picture. That picture wasn't even on my mind. So why did that one thing fly across the wall? I'll never understand. Um, Now, as a kid, we've all done it, I think, where we've taken a pencil or something and set it down and been like, "I'm gonna channel the force. I'm gonna be as solid with this thing as I can," and try to never moves, right? Never moves. That was one time that something moved, but it wasn't my choice, and I'm not saying I have special powers, but again, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know in the chat down there. And like I said, I hate to be that guy. But please let me know in the chat down there if you've ever had anything like that happen as well. You know, like something where these raw emotions come out and these feelings burst out of you and something happens. Because I can't be the only one, even though it was one time and I was, like I said, maybe a freshman in high school, maybe a little bit younger. um, It's always stuck with me. Side note, next week I'd like to talk a little bit about conspiracy theories. Um, I know they kind of fall along the UFO line, but I'll stay away from the UFO stuff. We're not gonna get too much into that. And we're gonna try to stay non-political because I don't look, I like to talk politics, but I'm not a political genius. I don't know what is and what is isn't. You know what I mean? I don't know. Um, I know all the players. I can tell you the Secretary of State and, all these people, but I just don't know the deep, intricate details. But we are gonna talk. I mean, you can't talk conspiracy theory without talking about the government. Um, One of the things that I love about one of the conspiracy theories I love the most is, the JFK assassination. Was it the Cubans? Was it, the government? Was it the mafia? There's a lot of theories out there, and, like I said, I don't know if I believe any of these conspiracy theories, just like I don't believe hardly any of the, supernatural stuff. But damn, it's fun to listen to. It's entertaining as shit, I mean, how can you not love the whodunit? It's a whodunit for real. Now, is it a tragedy that a president died? Absolutely. But the conspiracy behind it all these years later, there's a Brooder tapes and this and that, and, up and to the left, what all this crap. It's just fascinating and it's fun to watch. And we're going to talk a lot more about it next week. The stuff that I really like, the ones that have got me the most perked up. Guys, thank you for watching. We're going to cut it close. Yeah, we're going to call this one. But look, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Let's keep fat and spicy. Let's keep Anson in the morning going. Every little click helps. Every comment helps. Please get in there, guys. Like I said, if you've had these experiences in your life, go down there, type them in. Just let me know. I'm gonna read every comment. I don't care what it is. I'm a comment guy because it gives me content for the next show. Also, let me know if you guys like the stash. If I should keep it. Um, I hadn't shaved in a while, so I figured I'm just gonna leave this. My wife hates it, but let me know. All right, guys, that's it. So, until next time, this has been Anson in the Morning. I'll see you.